There's a moment every man goes through, maybe you felt it too, when a woman's words sound comforting, convincing, even sweet. But something in your gut whispers, this doesn't match how she's acting. And you can't explain it. You don't want to accuse her, you don't want to look insecure, and you definitely don't want to seem paranoid. So you silence that inner voice. You tell yourself you're overthinking. You choose to trust what she says, even though her behavior is sending you a different message entirely. And later, you look back and realize your instincts were right the whole time. That's the moment you learn that in female psychology, just like in human psychology in general, words are cheap, rehearsed, emotional. But actions are honest. You know, a woman can say she loves you, but love isn't in the words. It's in how she shows up when you need her. It's in whether she respects your time, your effort, your presence. She might tell you she's loyal, but loyalty isn't something someone declares. It's something they demonstrate when no one is watching. She might insist she cares about you, yet somehow she's too busy to text back, too distracted to pay attention, too comfortable taking you for granted. And that's when you start realizing, it's not that she's lying. It's that people often say what sounds good, but behave according to what they truly feel. Think about the last time a woman told you something that felt reassuring, but her actions pushed you into confusion. Maybe she said, "I'm not talking to anyone else," but her phone suddenly became a private vault. Maybe she said, "I'm not losing interest," but her tone got colder, her replies shorter, her energy distant. Or maybe she said, "I want to see you," yet every plan somehow fell apart at the last minute. When you're a man who cares, you want to give her the benefit of the doubt. You want to believe the version of her that speaks, not the version that acts. But that's how most men blind themselves. They get attached to what they want to be true, instead of what is actually happening in front of them. You start feeling confused because her words keep pulling you in, but her behavior keeps pushing you out. And confusion is always the first warning sign. See, when a woman's words and actions don't match, your mind gets stuck between two realities: what she says she feels, and what she's actually showing you. That gap between the two is where most heartbreaks are born. The truth is, a woman's real intentions are hidden in the details of her behavior: how she invests in you, how consistent she is, how she prioritizes you, how she treats you when she doesn't need to impress you. Those are the things that reveal everything she never verbally admits. And here's the part men rarely talk about. You can feel when something is off. You can sense when her energy changes, even before she says a word. Women show everything through shifts in behavior long before they speak it. A change in tone, a subtle distance, a drop in effort. These things are never random. They're signals. Signals most men ignore until it's too late, because you've been taught to listen to her words, not observe her behavior. You've been taught to be understanding, even when the signs are screaming at you. But the reality is simple. Her behavior tells the truth her words can't hide forever. And once you learn to pay attention to the way she acts, not just the way she talks, you start seeing things you couldn't see before. You start noticing patterns, motives, emotional shifts, and hidden truths that were right in front of you the whole time. There's a reason actions reveal so much more than words, because behavior is instinctive, and instincts are hard to fake. A woman can choose what she says, but she can't choose how her energy reacts around you. And you've probably seen this play out before without even realizing it. Think back to a time when a woman told you, "Nothing's wrong," yet everything about her body language screamed the opposite. Her tone was sharper, her presence colder, her patience thinner. Her silence felt loud. That's the difference between words and emotional reality. Words hide. Behavior exposes. Most men miss these emotional shifts because they take her statements at face value. They think, "She said it's fine, so maybe I'm imagining things." But brother, women speak with their emotions, not their vocabulary. If she truly values you, her actions naturally move toward you. She checks on you. She includes you. She invests in the connection without needing to be asked. You don't have to chase effort when it's real. But when her effort starts shrinking, when her interest starts fading, her behavior becomes distant before her words ever catch up. She starts responding slower. She suddenly has less time. She becomes less affectionate, less engaged, less curious about you. And that's not because she's busy. It's because her emotional investment is shifting, quietly. Sometimes she won't admit this because admitting it requires honesty she's not ready to face. Honesty with you and with herself. Maybe she doesn't want to hurt you. Maybe she doesn't want to look like the bad one. Maybe she's scared of confrontation. Or maybe she just wants to keep you around as an option while her heart explores something else. Whatever the reason, her actions will always reveal the truth before her mouth does. You don't need her to confess feelings she's lost. You can see it in how she stops trying. And here's the painful part that most men never talk about. When a woman's behavior starts drifting, you start working harder. You text more. You explain more. You chase more. You try to revive something she stopped nurturing. But in the process, you ignore the one thing that could have saved you, the reality in front of your eyes. You trust what she says, not what she does. And that's how you lose yourself while trying to keep her. You need to understand something powerful. A woman's behavior is her emotional honesty. Her actions are the purest expression of how she feels about you. If she's into you, you'll feel it in consistency, warmth, effort, and presence. If she's slipping away, you'll feel it in silence, distance, unpredictability, and the lack of emotional responsibility. These shifts are never random. They are signals telling you exactly what direction her heart is moving. And once you stop listening to her excuses and start observing her actions, everything becomes clear. It's almost like seeing her with new eyes. You'll notice the truth in the small moments first, those tiny shifts that don't seem like a big deal at the time, but together paint the full picture of what's really happening. One of the clearest signs is how she prioritizes you. A woman who genuinely values you will naturally make space for you in her life. She won't always have the time, but she'll create the time. But when her behavior changes, suddenly everything becomes an excuse. She's too tired, too stressed, too busy, not in the mood. And yet, somehow she still has time for everything except you. That's not an accident, that's a revelation. Another sign is her consistency. In the beginning, she was eager. She replied quickly, she reached out, she initiated conversations, she wanted to see you. But now, you feel like you're pulling her attention out of her. Her messages become colder, shorter, more transactional. You find yourself explaining things that used to be natural between you. You find yourself wondering if she's losing interest. But deep down, you already know. Because her behavior is no longer aligned with the excitement she once showed. Attraction doesn't disappear quietly. It disappears behaviorally. Then there's emotional presence. A woman who cares is emotionally available. She listens, she engages, she remembers small details. She makes you feel like you matter. But when she begins detaching, she becomes mentally absent even when she's physically there. You can be sitting next to her and it still feels like she's somewhere else. Less eye contact, less warmth, less connection. She used to look at you with softness. Now she looks past you with distance. That shift isn't random. Women withdraw emotionally long before they pull away physically. You'll also feel it in how she handles conflict. A woman who is still invested wants to fix things. She argues, she expresses, she tries to find solutions because the relationship still matters to her. But a woman whose heart is fading stops fighting. She stops explaining. She stops caring enough to repair what's breaking. Silence becomes her new language. And silence always means her emotions have moved away. And one of the strongest signals, her effort in the relationship becomes conditional. She only shows warmth when it benefits her, when she needs something, when she wants reassurance, validation, or attention. But the moment you need something from her, she becomes unavailable. Emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. That imbalance between what she gives and what she expects. That's the behavior that reveals everything her words try to hide. The truth is, women communicate through patterns. They don't always say what they feel, but they always show it. Once you start reading those patterns, the confusion disappears. You stop doubting yourself. You stop ignoring the signs. And you start seeing the truth for what it is. Not what she wants you to believe. But here's the twist. Not all signs of detachment are negative. Sometimes her behavior reveals not that she's losing interest, but that she's testing something deeper inside you. There are moments when a woman pulls back, not because she's losing interest, but because she wants to see who you really are when you're not being guided by her words. Women test unconsciously. It isn't manipulation, it's instinct. She wants to feel your strength, your stability, your masculine center. If her behavior shifts slightly, if she becomes a little colder, a little distant, a little less responsive, sometimes she's trying to see whether you'll stay grounded or fall apart trying to chase her approval. And that's a test most men fail without even knowing they were taking one. You've probably seen this before. She suddenly becomes less affectionate, and immediately you start over-explaining, over-texting, over-trying. She pulls back 1 inch, and you run after her a mile. But here's the thing. When you chase a woman's distance, you reward the very behavior that creates it. You teach her that she can withdraw and still control the energy of the relationship. And that's when the power shifts. Not because she took it, but because you handed it away. A woman might not always tell you what she needs, but she will show you through her behavior. When she pulls back slightly, she's showing you she needs a man who remains calm, centered, and confident. Someone who doesn't collapse emotionally just because she isn't overflowing with attention. She's trying to see whether your value comes from your self-respect or from her validation. If you remain steady, if you respect yourself, if you don't force anything, She comes back with even more effort. Not because you played a game, but because you passed a psychological checkpoint she didn't even consciously realize she set. But sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes a woman pulls back not to test you, but because her interest is truly fading. And that's where most men get trapped. They can't tell the difference between a test and a withdrawal. They assume she's just busy, or just stressed, or just tired, because believing her excuses is easier than seeing the truth. But if you watch her behavior, really watch it, you'll always know which one it is. A test creates temporary distance. Loss of interest creates consistent distance. A test still has warmth underneath it. Loss of interest feels emotionally cold. A test disappears when you stay grounded. Loss of interest grows when you chase. The key is this. If her behavior makes you feel confused, unsure, or emotionally uneven, you don't argue with her words. You don't cling to her promises. You simply observe. Her actions will show you exactly what she feels. No debates, no guessing, no wishing. Behavior is the closest thing to truth you will ever get in relationships. And here's the part that changes everything. You're about to learn how to respond like a man who never loses himself again, no matter what her behavior is doing. When you finally understand that a woman's actions speak louder than anything she'll ever say, something inside you changes. You stop attaching your worth to her promises. You stop trying to decode every sentence. You stop chasing clarity from her, and instead, you find clarity within yourself. Because when you pay attention to her behavior, you're no longer reacting, you're observing. You're no longer confused, you're informed. And that's when your confidence becomes quiet, steady, unshakable. You start to see patterns you used to miss. A woman who's truly interested moves toward you, consistently, naturally, without pressure. She invests, she contributes, she shows effort. She aligns her words with her actions. That alignment is what reveals authentic connection, and you deserve nothing less than that. But when she says one thing and does another, you no longer try to fix it. You no longer try to convince her. You no longer chase after the potential of who she could be. You see her for who she is showing you she is, right now. And that shift, seeing instead of hoping, observing instead of assuming, protects your heart more than any advice ever could. You realize you don't need to argue with behavior. You don't need to demand explanations. You don't need her to validate what you already feel deep inside. Your intuition is not insecurity. Your awareness is not paranoia. Your emotional sensitivity is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's your natural defense against games, confusion, and inconsistency. A woman who truly wants you will make it known in everything she does. She won't leave you guessing. She won't make you feel like you're fighting for scraps of attention. She won't give you mixed signals, hot and cold energy, or inconsistent effort. Real interest is clear. Real affection is steady. Real connection doesn't hide behind excuses. Once you grasp that, you'll never again fall for words that aren't backed by actions. And maybe the most important truth of all, when you start valuing behavior over promises, you naturally become a stronger man. You start walking away from inconsistency. You stop negotiating your standards. You stop tolerating disrespect disguised as mood swings, or emotional distance disguised as stress. You stop trying to force someone to choose you, because a woman who sees your value will choose you without hesitation. And this is where everything comes full circle. When you learn to watch what she does, not what she says, you stop living in confusion and start living in clarity. You stop losing yourself in someone else's emotional patterns. You stop getting blindsided by the signs you once ignored. And most importantly, you finally give your heart to someone who truly deserves it. Because at the end of the day, actions don't lie. Energy doesn't lie. Effort doesn't lie. And once you learn to read them, you'll never ignore the truth again.